The biggest mystery was when it was not addressed to me. So I went back and I'm like, there's a mistake. I think you were addressing this email to someone else. So
Thank you, Sharanya, for doing this. Really means a lot to me. I'm so excited. I mean, you're the first one from Twitter, so there's excitement over there too. But then also like a technical program manager, because that's one of the role which I'm interested in becoming it. I kind of do a lot of the responsibilities, but it's not called technical program manager. So I'm interested in that. And of course, we've done another course together. So I'm very excited to kind of share your journey with my audience and learn from your journey. So thank you for being here.
thank you so much, Yudi. I feel privileged to be here, and thank you for having me here as a part of your podcast.
Yeah, let's do a quick intro for people who might have not know you, or people who might not know your story yet. So let's do a quick intro. Where are you from? What do you do right now? Where are you right now? And all the fun stuff about you.
Sounds good. So I am from Bangalore. I grew up there and have been there for most part of my life before I moved to the US for my master's. And I did my master's at University of Maryland College Park. And post that, I came here to the Bay Area. And currently I'm in the Bay Area right now.
Nice.
And yeah.
Do you like Bay Area better than College Park?
In fact, it takes me back to a conference. Bay Area was the first place that I came to in the United States. I was here for a TED conference back in 2016, and I instantly fell in love with it. So
nice.
just seeing the Golden Gate Bridge for the first time, it just took my breath away. And I love Bay Area for that being the Silicon Valley. The weather is a huge plus. Yep. So yes, College Park is special, but I've always wanted to be here.
Yeah. And I just realized it that you are just like 3 hours far from me, and I often visit to Bay Area like pretty much once a month. So we should have done this in person.
Absolutely. And I didn't know you were 3 hours away, but would love to meet in person. That would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Everybody just loves to know GRE score, TOEFL score, just to put perspective. Like, if you remember, do you remember what your GRE TOEFL?
Yes, I definitely do. So with GRE, I had a score of 317. I guess the break between the quant and verbal is a little hazy at this point. It's been about
317 is good.
Yeah. And TOEFL, I had a score of about 114 for 120.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you have any work experience before?
So I had interned at a startup a lot, and this was mostly a non-profit, and it was for helping people who are visually challenged. And post that, I worked at a tech services company as a associate software engineer for about 3 to 4 months maybe. And I think when I completed my internship at the startup, I knew that I wanted to become a product manager or be in a cross-functional role as such. But that's when I knew I wanted to do my master's, and I wanted to take up that role.
So just to clarify, you did not have any product management or project management or program management experience prior to coming to United States?
Formally, no, not on paper. But what I did in my internship, I was a product developer though, and it was a very small company. And the advantages of what you have in the startup is you get to explore any role you want. You get to get your hands dirty on anything that you want to learn on, which is within the bounds of the work that you're doing. So I got to explore a lot of this, and that's where I knew this is where I want to go.
Nice. And the reason I'm asking is because I know, just like you and me, people who don't really enjoy coding, I would say, or maybe even some people hate coding or hate
Yeah.
programming, or some people
Yeah.
cannot sit in front of desk and just do code for longer hours, and some people actually love it. But people like me and you who wants to still stay in the technology field, and then they feel that there's no path forward for them, and or they feel they hear the name product manager, program manager, project manager, and they feel like that it's manager. So how can I get a job without being, being a manager or any work experience? So that's why I asked you specifically, because I myself, when I started at my career as a project manager here in United States, I never had any prior experience of project management. So that should actually help other people understand that it is possible if you really build up your skill. And that's where, hopefully they're watching the whole thing and they will understand what you did to become a program manager. Awesome.
Absolutely. And I think we could also take time to talk about it, because sometimes I do talk to my juniors, and sometimes I talk to aspiring project or the program managers. And when they come to me and they said, this is what I want to get into, do you have any suggestions? So I go back to them and ask them, like, can you define, or can you, like, why do you want to do this?
Mm.
And as you just recounted, right, most of them come with the conception that yes, they want to be in technology, but just because they don't like coding, that's why they want to come here, which is good. And that's where even I came from initially.
Right.
But over the time, as I started interviewing, or as and even into the role, you don't have to code per se, but having a background here or understanding like how something works is always a huge plus to you.
Yeah.
I had never mastered the art of programming. Neither am I would I call myself anywhere close to an expert, but my background as a computer science engineer from undergrad definitely helped me in leveraging my skills there in understanding code.
Yeah.
So that love for technology and just being curious is something that really helps.
100%. And I've said this in my past videos as well. My pitch when I was pitching for project management was because I also actually did my master's in computer science, and when I did it after first semester, I realized like, nope, this is not what I want to do. So how I pitched myself is like, look, I love people and I love talking to people, and I know that software engineers cannot explain properly the normal layman language, and like stakeholders cannot talk to software engineers in the technical language they would understand. I do both, so I can be the perfect bridge between both of them. And
Yes.
that was my kind of the 30-second pitch for a lot of recruiters over there on campus. And I was like, and I am guessing that's what sold, and they hired me. So yeah, having a background of computer science really helps, and also not just to get an interview, but also when you start working with your team, because you will be working with a lot of software engineers and DevOps engineers, QA engineers, whatever. They will be using a lot of terms, and you won't feel left out. But that doesn't mean if you don't know, then it's a bad thing. It's just having that, it's a plus point. It don't look at it as a negative point. How are you excited for the new CEO? Is it done, or is it still in transition right now?
The day Jack announced the new CEO Parag Agrawal, he took over, and it was wonderful working with Jack under his leadership. I would say he was an exceptional leader. He was not the conventional sort. He liked to do things his way. And one of the things which I've always loved Twitter has been for their work culture. So every month you get an extended weekend, and they call it the day of rest, just so that you can unwind, relax, and then come back refreshed the next day.
Mm.
So very flexible culture, and people have sort of echoed the same thought process, be it in their work, be it their persona here. So it's been very evident even with every person who has been in this company. I guess that's what Jack set up as he led.
Yeah.
With Parag, of course, I'm very excited, of course. And he has had some wonderful insights through his process, through his tenure as a CTO, and a lot of things that he has contributed. There was so much to learn from, maybe not directly, but even indirectly, in how he worked, how he functioned, and the whole tweet that said that him being a curious individual was very evident in a lot of circumstances there, and that I've always found it to be an interesting and a necessary quality in a leader to have. So it should be a fun journey going ahead.
Nice. I'm excited. Yeah, as soon as I saw the news, I was like, "That's awesome." It's you. I mean, it's such a proud feeling. So it's awesome. I'm excited to see how things go at Twitter. Back to GRE TOEFL, you had 317, and TOEFL you said 100 plus something.
114.
114. I already
Yeah.
forgot. 114, and you chose UMCP, University of Maryland, College Park. Did you have any other options, or why College Park?
In fact, I was eyeing towards University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and they have a great MSTM, Masters in Technology Management course,
Yeah.
which is very similar to what MIS is in University of Maryland, and that was in fact like the university that I was targeting, and I was like, maybe I wouldn't get it, but was surprised when I got the admit. But at that point of time, the course was about 1 year of course, and I was not personally ready for that, because doing your master's in 18 months I thought was a stretch, because I wanted to like enjoy my last years as a student. Like I'm still not sure if I would go back to a university, but so and I wanted a good 2 years of course, like experience the campus life, and then
University life.
Yeah, being in classrooms. I have never been an academic person as such, but nevertheless that environment was something that was so conducive. So then I did decide that, and it was starting early, and I had to get my visa process started, which I was a little late for. So it did not work out. So my next best option there was University of Maryland, College Park. And I knew some of my seniors there, and after getting the admit, I connected with people there. I tried to understand how the courses are, what are the opportunities that you get. And one of my biggest anxieties there was DC is not really known for as the tech hub of the United States as such. So I always believe that having a proximity to any sort of like the tech companies would always like give an edge. But nevertheless, I thought just experiencing, I like the coursework. I liked how it was a healthy balance of both management, business, technology, analytics. So it had a flavor, nice amalgamation of all these flavors. So I felt this was a great place to start and take it up anyhow. So I ended up, that's how I ended up there.
Is that how you answered your F1 visa question? I mean, I was just kidding. It sounded like so well thought out answers. Like when visa officers ask them, "Why are you choosing this university?" So you already touched on the coursework. Before we do the coursework part, what was your total expense for that course?
Including my living expenses, it was about between $80,000 to $83,000.
What? 83?
So
That is so expensive. Wow. I didn't know that. That's even I mean, wow. Wow. Okay, sorry. I'm like
So
speechless.
business schools are notorious. Business schools are notorious for that. So each credit was around $2,000, and
Wow. And then you
I
have to
think
take
I took
36
around
credits?
30 to 35. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's
So that's
70,000 roughly, and then obviously you have to to the living expenses and all of that. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Wow, that is, I did not expect that answer. Because I thought College Park is not like a big town, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
cheaper, and yeah, that just threw me off. But anyway, that's good. It's expensive and it's a good course. Obviously, you work for Twitter now, so uh, did you take education loan for that, or did you have money?
Yes,
You did.
I did end up taking education loan for the most part, and some part I
Savings and
had my
all.
dad sponsor me,
Yeah.
so that helped.
And at this point, when did you graduate?
I graduated in 2019 December.
Oh, so not so long ago. So just like 2 years back.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so are you on a path of paying off, or have you paid off already?
I'm almost done. So
Nice.
I didn't go full out like I'm going to give myself this time period and send out all the money that I'm getting because I felt like I'll just still save and then have some part out for the loan every month, and that
Yeah.
sort of became a system. So I'm close to finishing it, very close to it.
Nice. But you
Yeah,
you do think that by next year, you like by the end of your third year of OPT, I mean, I'm assuming you are probably already on H1B, but
yeah,
if you had only 3 years of OPT, you would be able to pay it off.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, and my reason for asking these questions are for mainly for parents who, if they are watching, and also for the students who come from a background who are middle class families, and they are hesitant, like, oh my god, 80,000, that's a lot, and if we will ever be able to pay off or not, and that's why I started including this. I used to not, but I started including this because this gives
Yes,
them a little bit of confidence and a little bit of perspective that yes, it is big amount, but it is still possible. If you obviously, you can't just go and buy Tesla after you graduate because you got a job in Twitter. If you do that,
yeah,
then yeah, you won't be able to pay your job.
yeah,
Tesla is very
yep.
expensive. But
You
uh,
should have your priorities.
yeah, but it is
Yeah.
possible to pay off, even though it is big amount, like 80,000 plus or so. So now let's talk about coursework. How is it divided? Like, how many core courses you had to take, how many electives you had, and is it purely technical? I know that you already mentioned it was business, more management, business, analytical. Just give us a brief idea.
I would say there was a healthy mixture of analytics, business management, and technology out there. So in terms of how exactly it was divided, I don't think I'll be very accurate. It would probably be approximate numbers. So I remember in my first semester taking up around 11 credits
Mm,
because you need to finish the whole thing. I think that was a rule in the Robert H. Smith School of Business of Maryland, because you have to finish. If you are an international student, you need to finish your course in 18 months. So we had 3 semesters out there. So you would be graduating
oh, so
in
you cannot
December.
extend if you want to?
Uh, Ideally, no. That was one of the clauses that I saw in my admit, and my other friends had the same thing too.
Mm,
I don't know
okay.
if it has changed now, but 2-3 years ago that was the case.
Okay.
Um, and the next semester I ended up taking about 13 credits, and the remaining for the last semester. And we had around we could pick about 1 to 2 electives every semester, and the rest were around core courses. So
Mm,
that was like probably 2 core courses and 1 elective, or 3 core courses, 1 elective. So that's how it went. And in terms of courses, I studied even things like data and networks. There was Python. There was big data. There was understanding digital businesses and markets, and
yeah.
how strategic information technology works. So there was a lot of theory, there was a lot of case studies, and the
Right.
classes were very interesting, where you would get the case study much in advance. You would go read it up, and then have some sort of a debate in terms of like what you think about a particular topic. And for
Yeah.
example, I remember there was a case study on the Teslas versus the Google Waymo, and
Mm,
people had their own opinions, and it was always a fun discussions. And mind you, you were always graded for each of the class and what you contributed to these discussions as well.
nice.
So there were classes which I really looked forward to going. It was almost like waiting for the next episode of a TV series, as nerdy as I can get. But of course, it was not the case with all the courses. So
Right,
I,
right.
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting, and there was also good amount of statistics in terms of like learning and applying data
Mm,
models,
mm.
decision making.
So,
So you
so
could
that
take.
kind of tells me like you even, I mean, obviously in your case, you were very focused, laser focused that you wanted to become either product manager, project manager, program manager, like all three, either of those roles. And
Yeah,
you knew it from the very beginning. So you were focusing on that, building up your skill set like that. But because of your coursework, you could decide to go into business analyst role. You could also decide to go into data analyst role, data engineer role, because you are taking those courses. So you have that flexibility to move around and not just stick to one of these positions. Would you agree?
absolutely. So I have my classmates and my seniors who graduated as data engineers, as BI engineers,
Hmm.
as consultants, risk analysts.
Yeah.
So as you said, it gives you a varied options. In fact, as soon as I graduated, I also had an offer as a software developer,
Yeah.
though I found myself a misfit for it.
Right.
So you could take any path
Nice.
out of it.
Okay. So how
Yeah,
how did you, so did you have any internship or no?
I did.
Nice.
So I worked as a product manager intern at an insurance analytics company called as Verisk Analytics
Okay.
over the summer. And I had immense amount of learning through that internship. And
Nice.
if people are watching, I would always recommend, I mean, a lot of them tell me that they have a dilemma whether to go for summer courses or go for internships. If you have an opportunity, I would always say take up internship, because it also gives you that door to get into your full time if you want to with that particular organization, or even get a healthy amount of understanding of how the industry works and how your maybe future job would look like.
Yeah, 100%. I think internships are best just to get your foot into the industry for getting future jobs and making connections, understanding the industry really, because you might be like, okay, I become a business analyst, but I really hate writing big tech specs and requirement documents, and I don't want to do it, or I would rather be on the other side of the table where I'm actually receiving that and working on it. So it gives you a like a good insight into the industry, what is really your job role going to look like. So 100% agree with that. So what was your strategy? When did you start applying for internship, and what was your like internship search strategy?
Uh, so I already had my sibling here in the United States. She
Hmm.
was working full time, and she had done her master's as well, and that always helped me in terms of understanding what to do, what not to do.
That's why you didn't watch my videos. No, just kidding. But now
I
she
wish I
watches it. Now
had.
now she watches it.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
It's never too late to watch Yudi's
yes,
videos.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, so you had a sister, or
yeah.
is it sister or brother? You said
Sister. I had
sister.
an elder sibling. Yeah,
So she helped
yeah.
you with connections and how to get things, move things around. So
Yeah, so the number one instruction that I got as soon as I received my admit was make sure you start your search early.
nice.
And a few more things that helped me along my way was I was already a part of this conference called as the Grace Hopper Conference India,
Yes.
which is targeted, which is mainly for women in the field of technology. So I was a committee member there, and I worked largely with folks there. And I wanted to do the same here because of the wonderful network it had, because of all the learnings that I could take it back. So I worked as a committee chair for both my years for the Grace Hopper conference here, and attending that, the career fair, even the sessions, talking to people,
And this is in India, right?
was this was in India. I did that from the first year of my undergraduation.
Nice.
So and after coming back, I did the same here, and even in the US here. So that was a heavy boost to my internship hunt, because there are about more than 300 companies which come for recruiting and hiring people. I did not get a job there from the conference immediately, but I found a lot of people. I found few mentors to talk to, and I'm in touch with them even today. So
Nice.
that helped a lot. And I also attended this particular group called as Women in Product, and they have a DC chapter. So this was before pandemic. They had in-person meetings, and this used to happen at least once or twice a month. So I could go and talk to product managers there, understand what's happening in each of their organization,
Nice.
see how I can be.
How did you find this group, Women in Product?
So a bit of a background to this. While I was an undergrad student in India, I found that classroom education was very boring. There were courses which were interesting, but otherwise I always tried to look for things outside the classroom, which was more close to what it is in the industries today. So I used to attend a lot of meetups. It was the Google Developers Group, Bangalore, or there was even a chapter called as the Women Tech Makers, and I ended up leading the Bangalore chapter for them. So I made sure that I spent my weekends in these places, and I had a lot to take back. So when I went on to become an ambassador for it, I got to understand what are the other communities which are out there, and where do I fit, and how can I learn, how can I leverage my network here. So being a part of that really helped me in terms of knowing what I can do coming to the US. So again, that was something that was really helpful for me, which also meant that I might have less time to socialize with my friends.
But you are socializing in those groups. It doesn't mean that you are not socializing. You are socializing, but it's a different type of socializing. You are, you're still making friends, and you're still making mentors, and in different, not necessarily with your classmates, but in a different setting. So it's totally fine.
Yeah. That's true. As a grad student, I would often hear my friends tell me that, why don't you see here, or we have a gathering today, or come to someone's birthday party, which I feel bad for not being there. But again, I think you have choices to make at certain point of times. So this was it. Yeah.
If you want to be in Twitter, you know what to do.
And also, I had quite a few mentors back from India and a family. I tried to take help of anyone that I know here, and try to see where I can probably get a referral and people who can vouch for me. I heavily used LinkedIn for this, and that helped in terms of getting ahead in my job search. But however, there were people who got it before I took quite some time, because I was very particular. I wanted either a product management or a program management or a project management internship. So a lot of times these folks ask for work experience. And the sad thing is, even for internships, some of the places do.
4 years of experience.
The reason that you do the reason that you do an internship is to gain experience. So I don't understand that. So I try to leverage my other skills and try to sell myself as a product manager or as a program manager based on the application at each of these places. But I ended up getting it only a month or 2 months before my internship started. So because I was very particular, it was easy for me to get a call for a software engineer versus any of the PMs because I did not have the experience. But I waited and I made sure that I land in the right place.
Mm, mm. And how did you get it? Like, is it through online application or was it through referral or what? How did you get landed the interview?
So it was through an online application as well as I went ahead, I saw there was an opening, and I also knew that there was someone working in the same organization. So I went ahead and requested this person if they could refer me, and that went through, and there was a process of phone screen, and there was process of pre-interview, and then
Yeah.
an on-site finally, and then this happened.
Nice. Okay. So, few questions. One is like a lot of people also approach the same thing, and I highly recommend do that. Before that, how many job or how many internships did you apply before you actually got an interview?
Uh, that's a good question because I mean, I would say this, a lot of my friends say this, people here say it, that the application is mostly a numbers game, especially when you're going from college and then getting your foot inside the door. So I would say hundreds of places.
Yeah.
That was something that I would religiously do every day, every week at least, go see if there are places that have any openings and I could go ahead and
And
apply.
my guess is every morning you would wake up with rejection, automated
Yeah.
rejections emails. Yeah.
Yes.
I
And
and my
that
reason.
also helps.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the reason I'm asking this is because I want people to come with that expectation and not expect that as soon as they land here, they're gonna get this. They're gonna get interviews, or they're gonna get job offers. It's not that once you land here in United States, your life is settled at all. That just don't think like that. You don't come with that expectation. Even people like who are smartest, they have to go through job rejections. I can guarantee you it'll be very rare where they applied for the first job and they got the interview and they got the job. It's going to be very, very rare. They have to be very genius. But it's
Yeah.
just part of the process to expect to apply to whatever n number of companies, and rejection shouldn't demotivate you or discourage you, basically. Okay.
So with rejections, absolutely. And I think developing that healthy appetite always helps,
Yeah.
be it applying that to any other aspect of your life. So it isn't easy the first time. And even today, I struggle with getting a rejection, and being said no is not nice, right?
Why today?
So
Why would you want to move out of Twitter?
I'm not trying to move out of Twitter.
No.
I mean, probably it could be rejection for like applying for a conference or
Yeah, yeah,
rejection
yeah,
for anything else, right?
yeah.
So
No, I know.
for now, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I know you mentioned about Grace Hopper conference. A lot of students ask me this: that is it worth going? Is it worth spending the money? My answer to them usually is yes. But since you are an active volunteer and also participant, what's your recommendation? Should people spend money to go?
I would say it's a big yes. Uh, I mean, a lot of people told me that, and I read blogs that they walked out with 5 offers after the
Yes,
conference, and I
yes.
saw my friends do that. But that wasn't the case for me, right? So if you're looking for immediate returns, it may happen, it may not happen.
Hmm.
But I would always say, take a look back and then see the big picture. You might not end up with a job offer, but you could meet so many people, you could
Yeah.
develop those connections. I found amazing mentors today because all thanks to the Grace Hopper conference. And people with similar mindset come. So for example, even today, if I go to the GHC, I see if I can go give back to the community, if I can mentor someone, if I can be of help to anyone.
Hmm.
So it's a great place. I would say it's definitely worth your money.
What are typical questions you were asked as a product manager? And maybe we should actually explain, because we've been talking about product management, program management, and project management. What according to you is the like what is the difference between these three main roles?
Yes. So there's definitely a lot of confusion around these few roles.
They
So
overlap
if
for sure.
yeah, if I draw a Venn diagram
Yeah.
between, be it even engineering manager, be it program manager, project manager,
Yep.
product manager, there's a lot of overlap
Yeah,
between
and
the
some
three
companies have
roles.
different names.
Yeah, and they work differently. So they call, some companies call program management, product management. It's
Yep.
how they define their roles. But as far as how I have understood it and how we work here, product management is something that happens. You define the what of the product that you're doing. And program management, at least the technical program management here, is through the execution and how you do the whole product.
Right.
So the whole process from like getting the what, the requirements, through the delivery, the technical program manager takes over and leads through the whole course there.
Yeah.
And project management is where you define the sprints, you define the scrum cycle, you sort of add some amount of choreography to the chaos out there, right?
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
Yeah.
So and making sure there's an order, there's a structure for it. So again, a lot of companies have project management in program management.
Right.
It very much differs from place to
program
place.
manager and program manager and project manager definitely has very similar. I would say 80% of the responsibility is same, 20% is like program manager is higher than project manager, because program manager will typically have more than one project to manage, and project manager
Yes.
is typically just managing that one project. Not necessarily that you will be only managing one project if you become a project manager, but that is
Yes.
usually the case. And like you said, like a product manager is the one, the CEO of that product, who whatever that product, that person, or the feature they are building.
And again, there are companies who do PPMing, technical program management, differently. So as far as what I have heard, some organizations have functional TPMs where they assign TPM to a particular team instead of a whole program. So it again depends on how they want to do from place to place.
But no coding, correct?
No coding, at least the places I know and I have worked so far, but it always helps to understand.
Yeah.
And despite that, there are always, at least when I went through the interviews and when I take interviews, that there is a technical round for even the product and technical program managers, as far as I know. So where they see how much of technology do you know, how much of technology that you understand. We call it the inch depth and the mile wide of technology that you know. Yeah.
Okay. So you had an internship as a product manager, and then you obviously did the full internship. That was summer internship?
That was a summer internship of 10 weeks.
Good. And did that, is that something you got converted into full-time, or you did not get full-time from them?
So I didn't get a full-time for a product manager role because there was no headcount in the team that when I was working there. So they had some pre-orgs and then they were looking for someone to start after summer. So the timing did not work out there. But however, during my internship, I always made sure, thanks to my mentor there, I would go out on like lunch meetings, with coffee meetings with some of the VPs, senior executives, and that's something that I've always developed, where be it any place that I am, I try to talk to people around me of any level, from my peers, my seniors, and go out to the leadership. And that definitely helped in terms of like, I got a full-time as a software engineer, where at least I communicate what are the things that I know, what are the experiences that I have, and what are the requirements that are there, and if there's an opportunity in future. So I mean, to be honest, it was not always a very transactional intention of having these conversations.
Right.
It was to develop. I found mentors today because of that. So
yes, absolutely.
That always helps. Yeah,
100%. So a lot of people hesitant, like a lot of people are introvert. I'm an introvert. People can't tell that I'm an introvert.
I wouldn't be able to tell.
I know, but I am an introvert. This is my act. This is my performance right now. But I am an introvert, and there are a lot of people who are shy, and Indian culture, at least specifically for the people who are coming or students who are coming from India, it's not like we don't do this often. We don't go out of our comfort zone and make connections and build relationship. We are always in our zone, and when they come here they get this huge, like, you have to network, you have to build relationship, you have to do LinkedIn, and they just don't know how to take that first step. Like, what if I mean, I'm guessing their thoughts, and because I get these DMs from them, like, what if they will think something of me, like why this person is reaching out to me, and all these thoughts are coming to them. How should they approach building relationship or talking to people? Like you said, like, I went and talked to so many people and built relationship, made mentors, but how should they do it? What's the first step they should do?
And trust me, for me starting out, it was not easy as well. I was a little reclusive in my own way. Again, it never seemed like that, but I call myself more of an ambivert. I do hesitate sometimes, even today, like thanks to this whole pandemic, because the whole structure of like meeting people in person has changed, right?
Right.
So the main thing here is the fear of being judged. Uh,
Yes.
and a lot of times, like you don't know how the other person perceives you, and it's just the fear of being called as dumb, or like, okay, the person would call out my whole foolery here or my stupidity here, so probably it's best for me if I don't avoid and if I just continue doing whatever I was doing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's where even I came from initially. And I would credit my father to it. He was an HR, so he noticed that and he said, like, why? So what if the other person thinks you're not smart, if you're not intelligent? That's still okay, and it doesn't change the person that who you are. So the worst thing that can happen is the person might be very condescending, be very judgmental, the other person might walk away. And
Mm.
in my experience, that has never been, I can't recall an experience where that has happened.
Right.
So
And
it might have happened in different forms, but
yeah, and it
yeah, you
might be
grow
like,
on it, right?
right,
So
it might be like they might even judge you, or they might be
yeah,
like, in their head they're making this impression of you, and maybe
yeah,
like after that you might want to reach out back to them and they are trying to avoid you. That's fine. I mean,
yeah.
it's up to them to make that decision that they want to build relationship or not. You cannot be like, going around and like, hey, marry me, marry me, marry me, right? So it's just like that. I mean, you have to accept it, and if people don't, I mean, usually it won't be the case, but there will be some, you
Yeah,
might find some who don't like your company, or who don't want to be with you, or who might find you not smart, or whatever that XYZ reason is. And that's okay. You don't want those person in your life anyway, because they don't value you. So
absolutely. And when you think about like what is the worst that you can lose, there is nothing to lose here. Maybe
yeah.
that person you might not have connected, but there are so many other people that you can reach out to. So let that fear not stop you from building great relationships out there.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, thank you for answering this, because there are even girls who have reached out to me who feel this anxiety of like, I don't know how to make this connection. I don't know what to say. Like, I just feel numb. Like, I just go blank. And I just keep telling them, like, why? I mean, really want to understand why. And most of that comes down to like, they've just never done it. And that fear, there's this fear of like, what is going to exam. There's a lot of assumption going on in the brain before they even do it. But I think
Yeah.
that will only go away if you actually try it.
Yes, and it might not be the best of experience the first time or the second time. The key is to keep pushing yourself.
Yes.
And again, as I said, having that curiosity, right? So a lot of times when I meet people, I'm curious about how they made that transition, or what was their
Mm,
story, what was their journey.
mm,
And having been a TEDx curator, these things always, I have a flair for that, and knowing that somewhere try to relate my journey, and these have been helpful for me when I have to make a transition. I take back, I try to use that in my day-to-day life.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of learning that can happen through these
Yes.
conversations.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Moving on to, I'm guessing Twitter was your first full-time job.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool. How did that happen? Was it just something landed to you? Obviously, I mean, that would be cool, but I'm guessing not. But if that happened, what was your step to approach for interviews and all of that?
So I think by the time I had graduated, I already had that full-time offer as a software engineer. And I was always looking for a role which was more cross-functional. So I kept interviewing with other companies at that time. So I still remember I had completed my final exams and I had gone to India for my winter break. And I thought to myself that I'm going to
Wait,
take
wait, wait, wait.
probably a
This is
month.
okay. You completed your final exam and you went home back in India
Yeah.
without your EAD, of course, I'm guessing.
I had my EAD because I had my offer by then. Like as I
Oh,
said,
okay.
I had an
Okay.
offer as a
So
software
you
engineer
went
in the
with
place.
that as a backup, like, okay, I can come back
Yeah,
because I have an offer. Okay, got it. I was like, wow,
that was.
that's very brave of you.
I don't think I can take as much of risks yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I had that offer, so I went back and I kept applying for places. I still felt that I'm not going to take no for an answer, and I'm still going to try and see what happens. So there were a few companies. Calls got translated into recruiter calls, and recruiter calls into hiring managers and interviews and so forth. So it definitely started with rejections, and especially
Mhm.
rejections hurt when you're done on site, right? After
Yeah.
that is like you would have built
Oh,
your
yeah.
hopes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of that happened, and this was the last call on my bucket. It was one fine morning, and I saw a LinkedIn post. My friend had actually tagged me in that LinkedIn post, which said, we are hiring for technical program managers here. If you're interested, reach out or apply. And there was that link there. So I was not very confident at that. After receiving so many rejections, it had definitely made some amount of impact. So I
Mm,
thought,
mm,
the worst case, I'll just go ahead and apply and not build my hopes up and see how things go.
mm,
And then after some time, I heard back from someone and they said that, so the recruiter will be reaching out to you. And that sounded very surreal. I was like, is this actually true? Like even the recruiter call at that time was a little baffling. So when I saw that on my inbox, I was definitely surprised, taken aback, and I thought, okay, like, let me give this a try. And at that time, I really did not know much about TPM. I knew about product management. Since I'd interned, I'd taken a course on project management. So this was fairly new to me. But I'd definitely spoken to a few TPMs before this. So I had some amount of understanding of what TPMs do,
mm,
though maybe not in depth. And that knowledge was definitely helpful in getting through my recruiter call. And then they came back and they said that they like me and they would go ahead and schedule a phone screen.
mm.
So I thought, okay, probably they might just call me out since I'm very new to this. I've just graduated.
Yeah.
And at that point of time, when I saw the TPMs and Twitter all had some amount of experience,
Mm,
be it
mm.
in the industry or
Yeah.
different roles. So I was very new to it. And I don't know how accepting they would be of that fact. So I was just myself in the phone screen. It was mostly on how much of technology that I know, what are the courses that I took, what are the projects that I've done, what have I done in the internship as such. So it was just walking through all these experiences that I
On
have
your
had.
resume, what basically walking through your resume.
I had, by the time I already had a friend in Twitter and I reached out to her and I said, I have this call. So what's the key here? What are the things that you should do? What should I not do?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she said that just be yourself. And a lot interviews are well known for being conversational, and my personal experience was interview always comes with anxiety, right? When someone
Yes.
says exam or interview, there
Yeah.
is so much of stress and
Yeah.
anxiety around it. And I didn't feel it that way here. I thought I was just talking to someone. I was just like how we are having this
Yeah.
conversation today.
Right.
I was narrating through my experience. And I also took the time and I asked the interviewer, like, what was your journey? What were your experiences? It was a normal
Nice.
casual chat, and the person was more than happy to share through that. And post that, I get a call on the same evening, an email rather. And the email was not addressed to me, but it said that we are interested in moving forward. So when can we schedule an on-site?
Yeah.
So, and the interview, the recruiter told me that the on-site is going to happen here in California. And I was like, worst case, I have an on-site. I can just come to SF. It's my favorite city, and just experience and go back.
Right.
If not, nothing.
Yeah.
So, and
And it's all
but
paid
but the
for.
biggest,
So
yes,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
biggest mystery was when it was not addressed to me. So I went back and I'm like, there's a mistake. I think you were addressing this email to someone else. So
Oh,
is
you
this
actually went and
for
said
me?
that?
Yeah.
Oh
So he was
wow.
like,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I messed it up. I was talking to this person, but I was writing this email to you. It was definitely addressed to
Oh
you.
wow. Okay.
So let's get on a call and discuss our next steps. So and then I spoke to the recruiter and I said, so when can we do this on-site in person? And then he told me that, like, with the whole thing of the pandemic outbreak, they're not
Yeah.
sure if they're going to have offices in person anymore. And probably that was just a day before that they had announced that everyone is going to be working from home. And I was like, I was so optimistic. I was like, the pandemic is going to probably end in a month. We're going to figure out what this whole coronavirus is. And then maybe next month I'll come in person, and I want to do this in person.
Yeah.
And he was a little surprised at my answer, and he's like, I don't think you should take this risk. You have an opportunity in your hand. So there is no difference between video conferencing and in person, and we would like to have someone sooner than later. So let's just go ahead and get this scheduled. So I took about a week's time to prepare for it, and then the recruiter had briefed me what would the rounds be, what would be my level of preparation. So here there is a round about communication, there's a round about stakeholder management, and there's a round about program management, and there's a round on the technical aspects, what you know, the skills that you have, and also a behavioral round at the end to know if you're a culture fit. So and they told me, like, what would be expected, what are the things that I should study at that point of time.
Yeah.
So again, I went back to my friend, I told her about it. So she said, the key here is just be yourself.
Okay.
And it's going to be just like your phone screen. You're just going to have a conversation with a person. It's going to be very engaging. You're not going to be put in a spot. It's just that they try to understand how much you know and what are the things where you would be a good fit at the end of the day. So that was very, very reassuring to hear at that point of time. And so when I went there, my experiences for leading some of these tech communities and for being a curator as a TEDx event and doing taking up those leadership roles, taking up that initiative and having that flair for communication, and then even having that technical background was something that was really
That was the
helpful in
key.
trying
Yeah.
to in trying to align those with my role as a technical program manager here.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. I love the answer so far. I mean, we started with how you got it till the final round of the interview. So so you said how many rounds of interviews did you do?
So I did one recruiter call, then one phone screen, and the on-site. The on-site had about 5 rounds.
And that on-site is not really on-site, but basically video calls?
It was like a virtual on-site. So there
Virtual
was
on-site. Yeah.
45 to 1 hour set for each of these
Wow.
rounds,
So
and
5 hours
that
of
happens to
interviews.
them. Yes, but you
What
get 1 hour of break in between.
between each of them, or some were back to back?
No, like lunch break.
Oh,
It will
like
back.
lunch.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Wow.
yeah.
That's
It really tests you, right?
yeah. I mean, and also, I think in a way it makes sense because as a program manager, you are in back-to-back meetings. So maybe that is
Yes.
part of they want to test to see if you really are patient. What are some of the most common TPM interview questions?
Cool. Yes. So as as the role itself goes like a program manager, a technical program manager, so some of the questions could probably talk about your past experience of if you had any program management experience and what are the skills that it involves, right? It involves leadership, it involves stakeholder management, it involves communication, it involves understanding technology, and understanding the probably the business requirement, translating that into the technical requirements as such, communicating that to the engineers. So in an interview, you try to get a sense of how much has this person done any of this in their previous roles. And one of it could go like, describe a program that you ran from the scratch to the delivery, and how did you go about doing that. And few questions could be very similar to even like some of the product management questions, like tell us about a time when you had to deliver a bad news, or when you had to disagree
Mm.
with someone. And these are the typical things that you see in your day-to-day life as a TPM in a company.
I was gonna just say, like, maybe give us some specific examples, like in terms of stakeholder. You said stakeholder management. What type of question people should expect in that segment?
How do you communicate to your stakeholders, or how do you make sure that all your stakeholders are aligned in a particular topic, or in on a particular project? Or for example, if you've had a disagreement, how do you deal with it? So and that's what you do with your stakeholders. So
And is the
just
answer usually
incorporating it.
in the star format? Is that what you used?
uh Personally, yes, I've tried to use the star format, but you can choose your own format. You can go about describing it. The key is to be very concise and also give right amount of details here, and walk through like what went well, what did not go well.
Yeah. And for people who don't know what is star, it's usually you give a situation, task, action, result. So you're like
Yes.
specifying, yeah, we had a delay in the release, and I had to go and tell all the stakeholders that there was a delay, and then so that is the situation. You're describing the situation. The task was like, how did you come up with a communication plan to do that, and then what was the action you took? Like, how did you actually say it, and or email it, or organize the meeting, or whatever that you did, and then what was the outcome, and what was your mitigation plan for that. So that's I mean, that's just an example, right? Like you have your own stories to say. In your case, you already had so many stories to share, so you probably picked some of the stories already, that if they ask me here, then probably I'm going to share this story. So what would you say, what are some of the most important skills for someone to, if they want to become a TPM? What are some of the most important skills they should focus on building while they're doing their masters or bachelors?
So I would say first one is definitely having that curiosity for how things work.
Mm.
That always helps, and as long as you get it, because this is how you'll be running your programs, and you will want to know how things work, what are there. So having that appetite for curiosity would always help. And there are a lot of situations where you will have to work with ambiguity, because you don't know what is going to happen next, or you don't know what is the risk that you would be working with, and at some point of time you will end up discovering it. So working with ambiguity will always help, and make sure, like, probably set your mind that maybe you're going to be dealing with these kind of situations. and influencing without authority. So no one reports to you as a TPM, as long as probably you're not a people manager there, but you should still be able to make your case, and you should still be able to have people agree upon something if you think that works, or just build that consensus. Having those leadership skills and having that communication skills always helps. And the technical background. So there are TPMs who don't have an engineering degree, or who don't come from a technical background, but as long as they're able to get into a place where they can learn and they can ramp up and they can build the skills, that will always help here.
What does a day in a life of a TPM look like for you? Like, what does a day look like for you from morning to evening?
I guess if you're signing up for this role, any cross-functional role for that matter, you should be ready to make sure that you'll be flooded with meetings, and you will have to do a lot of talking, or you'll have to be present in these forums out there. So my day starts, it depends from day to day, and from like which quarter and how things are. So TPMs are involved in planning. So the first thing, as soon as I wake up, I set up 1 hour to just schedule how I need to go about for the rest of the day, or in fact, plan my week if it is the beginning of the week, because it always helps to for you to take the control of the calendar, and for you to run how things should work. So, and I have a lot of calls with my stakeholders. This could be tech leads, this could be engineers, this could be engineering managers, and understand where the progress of each of the project is, and if we're doing well. So there are like a lot of like sync up calls, there are planning meetings that happen. So it's just walking through that. And at the end of the day, if you have any other requirement where probably you have to write an RFC or a PRD or things of that sort, you go about doing that. So it's a healthy mix of just making sure you talk to people a lot, and also doing your work that you owe to the team.
Yeah, basically you are like the one who's executing this whole project. You are running the show. Okay, you are stuck over here, let me, who will solve this problem? I'll go solve the problem for you. So you are just helping you are like a servant leader in a way. You're helping all these people to do their job so that their project get done and your project gets done. So what are, like, for you, what are some of the myths that you heard that this is what the technical program managers are, or this is what technical program manager does, and then you actually now work as a program manager, and you're like, why do people think that like stereotyping program manager like that? I mean, one of them could be just me saying like, you do this, you do that.
It's quite the opposite actually, because even today, like there are times where I go into a room, and it's not happened here, of course, but in other places I hear that, oh, you're a TPM, cool, you take notes. And like that's not what TPMs do. Like anyone can take notes. I mean, luckily we don't have that culture here, but that's what I heard before getting into it. You don't do these tactical things. It's a part of your job that you do, which anyone can do. But again, like these are the popular things which are out there, where they say that it's not very technical in nature, it's very tactical in nature, it's just the low-hanging things that you do out there. But it's not. It can get as technical and as deeply technical that you want it to get. You can take control over things as to how you want to do. You need to be able to understand, you need to be able to work with the team lead to understand, like, okay, probably this is how the architecture of whole system looks like. Maybe is this a problem? You go out and then you take that proactive approach of going to identify probably these could be the risks that you're going to come across. And maybe there are situations where you go path X and then path Y, justify why are you going to be taking path X versus path Y. So these things are not very tactical in nature.
It's very
They're very
strategic.
strategic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and you need to understand technology to that extent to be able to make that decision, or to be
Yeah.
able to understand why you're going to take it, and communicate that to your stakeholders and the other teams that you're working with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how deep that you can go into program managing, and it can get very interesting as you go and uncover this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. People like to know. I mean, after watching this interview, they're like, "Arey, this is all good. Like, how much money will I make?" So, what is the typical salary range for TPMs? You don't have to give
It
your
can.
salary, of course, but just any like range of TPMs.
Absolutely. For an entry level, it can go anywhere between, and this is, I'm talking in terms of like Bay Area, right?
Yeah.
It can change from
So please
region to region.
consider the fact she's talking specifically about Bay Area. Now you might be in College Park and you're like, "Arey, Sharanya said that I'll get 150 and I'm getting only 80,000 over here."
Oh yeah. So it can go to it can start between from 100K to it can go to 180, 190K.
Yeah.
So for a person who's just starting out of college, and then as you go higher up the chain, so you will
Yeah.
be increasing your
Yeah.
pay.
Now all the people just perked up right now. I was like 180 as a beginner.
It depends from company to company, place
That's
to
true. Yeah,
place.
there's
Yeah.
lot of variables, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Always consider the lower end. That way, your expectation is low. But then, if the
You're
HR
not
is,
disappointed.
yeah, exactly. Because then you're like, oh, I'm gonna get 180. Now I'm gonna become TPM, and then I mean, I have friends who are TPM, and obviously they become TPM after 3-4 years of experience. So now they are even making in 200s, right? Like 220 to 240 plus stocks and bonuses and all of that. So
Yeah.
sky's the limit. I mean, TPM is a good role, but when you start, I think sometimes and if it is a smaller town, you definitely not gonna get. I mean, it'll be 70s, 75s to and above. So
Yes.
yeah.
True that.
What's the future of TPM in terms of career path? Like, is that stagnant role or can you go move up the ladder?
I would think that again, as far as what I've seen it can you can go across the ladder or you can go above the ladder. It can be both horizontal and vertical.
Yeah.
When I say that, a lot of TPMs go and become EMs, and then sometimes EMs say I want to become an individual contributor, and then I'll move up here to TPM,
Hmm.
and then a lot of TPMs go on. There is even an option to go to product management or
Yes.
even
Yeah.
project management.
Yeah.
So these things can happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is typical, but they do happen. I've seen that
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then how the career ladder goes, you can even become a people manager as a TPM. You can have a group of TPMs reporting to you. Then you
True.
can go up and become a director. And then if you want to still be an individual contributor, there is staff, there is senior staff, and you can be a principal TPM. So it varies from which path that you want to take, whether you want to be an IC or whether you want to manage people.
Hmm.
And you can do both sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if people have to think about it, you TPMs can typically go to the operations route, like COO routes, or even, I mean, now there's a chief heart officers as well, so you can become a people manager as well and go that route. But if you do decide, like she said, if you people does want to become product manager, and then if you are a product manager, then you definitely are going to the CEO route, because typically product managers are mini CEOs. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that that can happen.
Cool. Any final words of wisdom, tips for students who are wanting to come to Twitter, or just wanting are in United States? Or any tips from your end?
I would say, taking back from my journey, like it always helps to have your goals and ambitions high in terms of like making your career happen. And like as they say, aim for the sky, reach for the stars. I would say that don't stop there. keep going above and beyond, and also make sure that you stay committed to it, because you can always make things happen, and making sure that you're accountable to your goals, you're accountable to your dreams, and then working towards it and taking those actions always help. Even if you do a little bit every day, I'm sure you're going to reach there. Be it any organization, be it any role that you want to do. Maybe people can start their own company someday. So
Yes.
think I just wanted to add this. So as we were talking about it, and when we spoke to the point of like rejections and interviews and everything, right? So I thought this would be helpful, because when I used to get some of these rejections from interviews, a lot of times we tend to take it personally. So, and something that I want to emphasize and tell it out to the audience or people who are listening is that sometimes the interview results are not personal. It doesn't really gauge your skills, or it is not a validation for who you are or what you're capable of or your potential is, because there are a lot of factors. It is about, probably it could be a team fit in or a culture, or like what is available versus what you can offer, or an experience, or even the timing, right? So there are just so much to it, and it's never personal. And looking back, I would say that, and when I try to connect my dots, it has always worked out. So make sure that you keep trying and don't take no for an answer.
Yes, yes, I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I mean, if people have watched it till now, you can learn from Sharanya's journey. Like, she had a software engineer's position as a full-time offer, and if she had given up, she wouldn't be a TPM at Twitter. But she did not. She had that fire going on, and she kept on going, kept on going. Of course, there's gonna be she herself. Your journey inspires me because you did face a lot of rejection. And yes, if you are going to on site, and even not even on site, even if you're doing interviews and you don't go move forward, then it crushes your confidence. So you just have to pick yourself up back up again, and then just keep going, and then you don't know, sky's the limit in this case. So how is it working for you, Twitter? Like, is it, do you like, what's the work culture?
The work culture, it's very flexible. I personally love it here. It's been the best place that I've worked for so far. In terms of like the perks that you have, we have an extended weekend every month as a day of rest, so that you can
So
just
extended, is it
unwind.
like one more day, like Friday or Monday?
Either you get a Friday or a Monday, and that
Nice.
happens every month. And this started over pandemic, because you're
People are
working
always
around,
working.
there
Yeah.
is little boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're very cognizant about it, right? So they understand that the employees could be facing it. It's just always not a mad rush behind delivery, behind executing.
Mm.
So that's very interesting. And the whole culture, and even how people are, they're always open to conversations, they're always open to this. There's a culture of mentoring around here. So I have found a lot of mentors from my seniors here at the company, and there is so much to take back, and nobody hesitates in like making these conversations happen. They're
Mm-hmm.
generally nice.
Yeah.
And one thing which has been the biggest takeaway here is your voice is heard, no matter where you are in the chain, no
Mm.
matter like what you want to do. So they believe you in your expertise or in your area, and let you do and listen to you when you have something to say or when you have something to add.
Is it, I mean, I know typically TPM roles are stressful, just because you own a lot of responsibility of delivering. Is it stressful for you at Twitter, or is it
Uh,
not as stressful?
it can get stressful if you want it to get stressful. I know that's a very ambiguous answer, but honestly, that's how it is. In the sense, like you should. We even have like sessions and like people talking about it, right? How much of it, having those hard boundaries between work and your other
Personal
activities or
life. Yeah.
personal life that you want to pursue. So and everyone is very respectful about it. So if you want to take that, go that extra mile, put in more hours, you're more than welcome to do. Nobody's stopping you. But and then like I have never heard this before. I've had managers here telling me that why aren't you taking your vacation? Probably just go take your day off,
Yeah.
enjoy. So
Yeah.
not often do you hear things like that, right? So even my stakeholders that I work with, they always advocate that, and that's been amazing.
Yeah. So it's not like, I mean, basically, to just kind of rephrase the question, already I know my answer already, but to rephrase it, like, it's not like there's not a lot of work pressure that, hey, you have to stay overnight or you have to do weekends, you have to, like, there's not a lot of pressure. Of course, there are, at times there will be deadlines and you might have to do it once a while, but it's not going to be like every week you are like doing 60 hours, 80 hours or something like that.
Again, that depends on you. If you want to do that, you can go
Correct.
ahead and do
Right.
that, but as you said, there is no pressure to do that.
Yeah.
They always advocate that this is the time that you want to work. Make sure that if you have that deadline, go ahead and deliver. And as far as I have seen personally, no one has been very unreasonable in terms of the
Mm,
deadlines or the timeline expectations. They're very
yeah.
respectful, very
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
Until and unless there's a critical requirement, it never gets that way.
Yeah. If Twitter breaks down, then yeah, people are people are gonna be on
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
top view. Thank you so much for doing this, and until our next one.
Keep smiling and keep hustling.
Yes.